Welcome everybody to another appointment with the Amazing Scientist interview series of ICE. I am honored to be here today in person with Professor Guillaume Assie from Cochin Hospital in Paris, expert and physician and researcher expert in the field of endocrine tumors, especially focusing on adrenals and pituitary, but also teaching artificial intelligence in medical school. So I really wish to thank you, Guillaume, for being here with us. And if you feel, we can start with the interview.
Yeah, with pleasure. Hello, everyone.
Okay, so first question, ice-breaking. What led you to choose endocrinology?
Yeah, actually, on my training, after the second year of medical training, I started in parallel to do some studies in biology in École Normale Supérieure in Paris. And definitely the research was very important for me. So that was one reason I would choose endocrinology, because I think that it's not far from biology and from research, from pathophysiology. This is the way we think in endocrinology. And another very important aspect is the holistic view, because when an hormone is dysregulated, it impacts the whole body. And for me, it's very important not to focus just on a small part of someone, but globally on someone. And so I hesitated with internal medicine. In France, it's a different specialty, but I found that endocrinology would also bring this holistic view of patients, and but while being specialized enough so that you don't have to know all medicine, which in my view is not possible. So these are I think my reasons.
Okay, and how did this beautiful journey begin? Like, what was your first steps in endocrinology?
Yeah, so first steps, I would say it was through research, the way hormones work. Then after, I hesitated with intensive care medicine, with internal medicine.
Oh.
So I did some training there, because really for the holistic view of patients. Then after, I moved for endocrinology because for the reasons I mentioned before. So this is how I quite rapidly came to endocrinology.
Quite a big difference between intensive care and research settings.
Yeah, in terms of acuteness of disease, definitely, yeah. But not in my view in terms of holistic side, because really you have to have an opinion. If an endocrine disease disrupts the heart, for instance, you have to have your own opinion on the heart disease related to hormones. You can't just say, I'm going to call for the cardiologist. You first need your own opinion, and that's common with intensive care, I think.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So, was there, during your track, any key moments that you will recognize, like really important moments to change and shape your career?
Yeah, I think that, so I was always, hesitating between research and clinics, and I started to do things sequentially, like sometimes in a lab and sometimes in clinics. So quite early in my training as a resident, second year resident, I stopped to do 1 year lab full time. Then after 2 years of residency, then 2 years of lab and 1 year of residency, then again 2 years of lab. So it was an alternative. And so this is the way, the sequential way I built my training, was, a way not to choose. And at the end, I was somehow in a position that I had to choose. But actually, by becoming a professor, it became possible for me not to choose, actually, to continue to do both. Okay. So I think the key moments are these alternate steps in clinics and in the lab, giving time, to go deep each time into one specialty. So that's possibly something that I think is important. When you do just one thing, you can go deeper. Of course, you can still have if you're in the lab doing some on-calls or things like that, or when you are on clinical practice, you can somehow follow up what's going on in the lab. But I think being focused when you're training, that's very important for.
That's
yeah.
really interesting, and I don't think this is the traditional pathway. Usually, you know, somebody goes, as far as I know, in either one or other direction, so that makes a really original way, and probably that allowed you not to be, let's say, bored, always in the same kind of work, and still improve and build, you know, brick after brick in both sides and improve more and more, and so feel it much more than like a regular one. It's really, really interesting. And is there any specific achievement that you consider really important from either research or clinical point of view in your career so far?
Yeah, I think this switch from lab to clinics, and with time dedicated to one or the other, gave me the opportunity to develop some interdisciplinary approaches. And right now, actually, we have a team where we do bioinformatics, we perform data management, and that's cool because it's connected to clinics. So that's different from a majority of structures where you have a separation between those people doing the analysis and the people seeing the patients or doing the experiments. In the lab, we have integrated this into one single structure. And right now, it's I would say, I'm confident that it is a good strategy, though it is let's say middle-term or long-term strategy, not a short-term, because it took years to build that, to build expertise into the field of data mining, mastering, you know, the genomic approaches and things like that. But today, once you achieve that, then you're original, because you still see patients and you can do this stuff. So this brings you original insight, and I think you can do things that are different.
Really nice.
I don't know if it's clear.
Yeah. Rather than a specific achievement like an award or something, you are talking about a specific vision and path that you probably envisioned many years ago, and you worked for a long time, and now it's actually the machine is working, and you can really enjoy it and make science and clinical also in the way you want it to. So that's really really important, and it takes a long time though. It's a really big achievement, and so congratulations for that.
And definitely also I would say one very nice thing is that now I can train younger ones. And I did. I mean, I already did quite some for some people. So I think this is the logic of this type of construction. Also, is transmission of knowledge.
So you get in touch with a lot of early careers, definitely, and
so from different origins, like people with medical degree and no knowledge on IT or computing. And we train them, and we also have people from an IT background coming there to.
And they learn something about.
Yeah, and we have a group with different people, you know, forced to talk together, and that makes a real original
inputs.
Yeah.
Really nice. And what do you see for these young people that are around you in your group and you are interacting with? What do you think are for them the biggest challenge in their path?
I think today there are many challenges, of course. One challenge is the importance that I would say the importance people put into which I think is right, the importance of their private life, the equilibrium of life. This is, I think, something different compared to 20 years ago, where we would even not be asked, are you okay or not okay? I mean, and this is really different. And so today, finding the balance, I think, is key. It has always been, but today, with this, I would say, will to find an equilibrium, to have a life next to the professional life, which once again I think is a very positive and natural thing, is something new that brings new challenges, because For instance, for positions where you do both clinics and research and teaching and so on, it needs a lot of work. So how do you find your balance? And when you train, how is it possible to combine lifestyle and going deep, for instance? So these are challenges that I see, and I see that the most important is definitely that you keep on smiling. I mean, that's the most important, that you are happy with what you do, whatever you do.
Yeah, really.
Otherwise, you can't continue on a long term, I think.
That's a really interesting perspective and point of view. I completely agree with what you say, and I see this, I mean, on myself as probably part of a new generation, but also on new students and doctor. I'm getting in touch, and it feels like the real commitment with medical career is coming after the life balance. And this is not bad, of course, this is a good thing, but also what you say, that probably the people spending tons of hours in the hospitals and putting that in the very first place, it's something that is really becoming rare. And this probably is going to slow down some way the process, because we know how important it is sometimes to just be consistent and spend hours and hours on experiments and the clinical. So it's a really interesting point of view.
Yeah, and I think the sequencing strategy, though it raises problems because you have to find fundings, it's a lot of social uncertainty because you never know whether you will have money. This is a good solution for that, because if you do just one thing at one time, it's easier to handle.
Yeah. And do you see any big obstacles for the early careers right now in the, I say, in the European landscape, not just in France or any other department, like in the bigger view? What do you think could be an obstacle for young endocrinologists?
For becoming what? Because it depends on which purpose.
Yeah, for becoming for finding the right track.
Obstacles, I would say, maybe probably the first is themselves. I would say they have to ask themselves what they want to do, and I think that once they make a choice or choices, this comes together with assuming the choices. I mean, so it's hard. So I think for turning around this challenge, it's good to visit people, to talk with people, to talk, to have to go to older people, to see their lives, to ask them professional questions, personal questions, so that you can make up your mind, and then after you can come up with a choice. But this what I say is not an advice. Like, I don't think that people always need advice, and the majority don't actually. But and I also know people who just navigate in life like the plum in Forrest Gump, the one blowing through the wind, Yeah. No plans, and that's also a way to do. I mean, but it depends on the
just go with the flow.
Yeah. But in both cases, what is mandatory, once again, is that you keep on smiling. Otherwise, you can't.
It's also a really nice insight, because I share this view as well. I think that it's important that in our working relationship, we are putting some also personal advice and help, let's say help to each other, because we all go through highs and lows, and we need to back up on people in our personal life, but also we spend a lot of time in the hospital, in the labs, and so it takes it's really difficult if you would lose your smile if you don't have that. But if you have a cool and friendly environment and you know each other, you really talk to each other, not just cheapy talk, just real talk. It's really interesting. And do you think that somebody during your path inspired you the most? Is there been some figures that have been key for you, important for you, for inspiration to become who you are right now?
Yeah, I think I can talk about both the clinical part and the research part, but also the teaching part. I mean, we all had extraordinary teachers. For medicine, for instance, I am of the school of Cochin Hospital with Jean-Pierre Luton, which I first met when I arrived as a resident, and Xavier Bertagna, who was my head for years. Then now Jérôme Berthera, so they trained me in endocrinology. I am part of this school, I would say. And that's very important. On the research part, I had a PhD mentor, then called Eric Closer, who was very rigorous. And then I went to the United States and I met Konstantin Stratakis and Karis Ang. And they really changed my brain. Like, just do what you want, just go fast. What do you want to do? You can do anything. Oh, I want to do this? Okay, you have all the means to do it. Now do it. Like you're free. But, there is a but, you must perform. So these people were very, very inspiring for me because they gave me freedom in terms of, I would say, ways of thinking in terms of research and for teaching, starting from the primary school. I remember extraordinary teachers which really, I would say, inspired me in the way of honest sharing, which is harder and harder, especially when you know today you can't say a lot of things because you should not. And this is not the way these incredible teachers were thinking. So this is something we have to cope also.
Great, really nice. It seems like you were able to perform.
Well, yeah, we have to.
And if you had to talk to your young self or a really young endocrinologist, early career person right now, and you get the opportunity to give only one advice, what that advice would be?
Be happy.
Just simple.
Yeah.
Really nice. Really nice. And so I guess that this comes because you felt happy throughout the process. You enjoyed it anytime.
Well, yeah, this is a true question. There are disadvantages of doing what I did because for years, for instance, I started doing very deep things without any publication, for instance. And you know, when you're on a way of, I want my publications right now, instead of learning very deep methods, it's different. I mean,
there's been some frustration through the process.
Or doubts and middle-term doubts. When you do a PhD, you are after your second year and you wonder, will it give something? Like, this is really different from the stress you can have in an hospital when you have a patient who is acutely bad and you have a stress, but it's a short-term stress. Yeah. But here it's very deep. And it goes to the meaning of your track and a lot of questions, long-term questions. So I think this is you are talking about ups and downs. I think it's a short-term view. You also have these long-term doubts, or which are, I would say, very important for orienting your choices.
Yeah, I see what you mean, and it's really hot topic, I would say, because we need to embrace those moments as well. We don't have to think that we can be, on the top of the wave all the time, but we need to be also, let's say, this cool and trendy word, resilient, and learn how to navigate on the bottom for a while, but with the vision in mind that you are doing something.
Yeah, vision and resilience, and this comes with being happy.
Yes.
Equilibrium.
Really nice. Yeah, equilibrium. Yeah, and just one unexpected question. Let's say, did you encounter in your career anything that you consider a failure, and how did you manage that? How did you find the strength to move on, to go forward?
Like meaning to have screwed up something, and then to take over. Yeah, I think I have one of these. I've been working for 20 years on adrenocortical cancer, and when you are doing this type of investments and you still have patients dying, you say, maybe we have not won yet. And this comes to, so the way to overcome this, this question is to really figure out that the priority of medicine is to cure. The priority of research is to understand. So that means that you are not obliged to succeed into curing when you are doing research.
Do you consider that like a personal failure, or you mean it like in a wider vision?
Somehow you have to say, I mean, when you have worked for that, you have made important things or things you might see as important or other people might say it's important, and then you still have these patients dying, then they are still, yeah, I mean, it's not, you can't say that it's a success, like if you find a cure for, but of course it's very ambitious, and having this type of mindset, of course, is a source of all frustrations all your life, so you have to cope with that also, and to, once again, if you say, okay, but we should dissociate the research aims understanding and the clinical aims curing, then I think you can live with that, but it's...
Yeah, it's quite a big call.
Yeah, we are at the interface there, so...
Yeah, nice. And how do you cope with that? How do you get over this? How do you keep working and doing your best?
Yeah, so at some point, you know, here again, you might have doubts. Like, you might understand everything in a tumor, like finding a driver, find a solution to kill the driver, but it doesn't have an impact on the clinics. So it's a lot of modesty. You never know what will work. You never know what will work, and that's part of the situation.
Okay, thanks for sharing. This was really nice. And one more and final question. You know that I guess you know pretty well the ICE community of the European Society, and what do you think can be a beautiful and impactful goal for the ICE community, for other young endocrinologists?
I think that networking is important. Traveling, I mean, this is, you know, when you do research, in addition to clinics, it's additional work, it's additional stress, it's additional many things, but it's also a few advantages, among which really the ability to travel, to see the world, to meet with people from everywhere, thinking differently from you. And I think that the eyes are a typical tool for that, and especially to have, you know, this community of young endocrinologists moving across centers through the young connections is making very, very good opportunities. It's also an opportunity to move to, I would say, inspiring or relevant places where someone can really find what. And I think the eyes can provide this information to the community. If you want this type of trainings, and you should go there or there. And beyond that, I think that's a very personal view, but right now Europe is not going well with all these nationalisms coming up. And I can say that any initiative making people living together and feeling like they belong to the same communities, it's so important.
I think it's also this another really beautiful insight you're giving, and also some people during this kind of exchange may be valued more differently. The same person in two different environments can give completely different contribution, and maybe also find what they are more prone, they like more, they can give, where they can give more and feel happy about. So this is really nice insight. So this was really a nice talk. Guillaume, thank you very much for your time and for being here, and see you next one.
Thank you.